Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of We Bleed Purple podcast. We are recapping our visit to Ravens training camp at the Castle this past Saturday. We're going to talk a little bit about the Ravens and Philadelphia Eagles Week 1 preseason game this coming Saturday. Got some injuries to talk about, a little bit of a scare with Nate Wiggins, but first and foremost, Daniel Wilcox and Matt Trigger here. Wilcox, it was great seeing you this past Saturday.
Man, it was great seeing you too, Matt. Excited about getting a chance to go to training camp with you. I had no idea that it was your first time going to the Castle, man. So it was absolutely my pleasure to be the guy to be able to get you in and to be able to get you on the sidelines to kind of see it from another angle and another perspective. I appreciated it, man. Thanks for giving me that opportunity.
Thank you for being a gracious co-host and facilitator with the Ravens. They were gracious enough to give us sideline VIP passes. Just to kind of break it down to everybody, what Daniel Wilcox did for me on the weekend was something that I value tremendously because that was work to Daniel Wilcox for a dozen years. He was constantly in training camp, constantly, practicing at the facilities that he played at. But I've never had that kind of unmitigated access to an NFL practice atmosphere. I've always been in the stands, especially when it was at McDaniel College in Westminster during your playing days. And I had never gotten – I've always watched the Ravens post videos through their facility, but walking the halls, walking through the facility, the indoor practice field, the outdoor practice fields, just being able to be on the sideline and not be in the stands taking pictures, it's a surreal experience. And I want to say this, and I know we've talked a lot about it on the phone and through our text messages, and I've told this to some friends. You really don't know how far apart you are from being an NFL player until you're standing amongst NFL players.
It make me look small.
And the thing is, you're 6'3" and 250, 16 years removed from your playing days. And you look like you can still play. I mean, shit, Weaver looks like he can still play. We'll get to that.
Yeah, he does. Weaver's good.
But there's two things. There's something I learned watching practice Saturday. You can have all the training and all the hard work and the ethic, the work ethic abilities and all that stuff in the world, but you cannot teach athleticism and you cannot teach size.
Correct.
And I'm 6 feet tall and 300 pounds. Standing next to you, I'm heavier than you, but you got me by 3 inches in height. Me standing next to you and then seeing you stand next to Roger Rosengarten and Ronnie Stanley, the height difference between you and them is the height difference between you and I.
Correct.
So the speed in which they move, the precise technique and the explosiveness, they weren't even in pads. And they're the largest human beings collectively that I've ever seen in my life. And I had a whole different perspective because it was like, when I played high school ball, I wanted to go to college and play ball. And then I wanted to go play college ball, and I wanted to go in the NFL. Every high school football player has that dream. But now I saw for the first time in my adult life what you did every day for 10 years is fucking maniacal. It's crazy. And I was thinking about it when I was standing there next to you, and you're just watching the guys practice, and we're sitting there, talking about who's looking good, and they're doing position drills and all this. And I'm like, he had to practice against Suggs and Nada and Ray Lewis and Ed Reed and Chris McAllister. We got some dogs on this team, but I'm now equating their explosiveness to the explosiveness that the early 2000s team had. And I'm just like, he put himself through hell for 5 years.
Yeah, for sure. And it didn't just start there. I mean, when I was in New York, I mean, it was all the linebackers looked like shit. They were all 6'4", 265. They was big boys. The Sam Garnes was safety for us. Marvin Jones, middle linebacker. Mo Lewis, Sam Backer. Sam Coward from Florida State, you know, the wheelbacker. And then on the edges, I had John Abraham and Sean Ellis, you know, Big Cat, you know. So, I mean, and then Jason Ferguson in the middle, you know. So, I mean, my whole career has been crazy. Then I go down to Tampa. I got Derek Brooks, you know, Warren Sapp, you know, Simeon Rice, you know, John Lynch,
Right.
you know, you know, Brian Kelly, Rondé Barber, you know, like I mean, this my entire career, I've been around Hall of Famers, man. I've been blessed to be tuned in around all these guys over and over again. When I got here to Baltimore, it was the you know, I was mature. I was a little bit more mature. I was a little bit more seasoned as an NFL player. I still hadn't been on a team where I started yet, and I was still trying to make a name for myself. But I understood the assignment by the time I got here. I knew what I needed to do in order to make the team, be on the team, stay on the team. And that's why I was able to stay here and I was able to play here for 5 seasons, you know. And if I hadn't got hurt, I like to say I would have been able to squeeze another 3 or 4 out, you know. So it was absolutely probably one of the greatest experiences I've ever had in my life, hands down, you know. And to understand the magnitude of what I was able to accomplish in those 9 seasons in the NFL, you know, it's been nothing less than breathtaking to think about the journey that I took and the fact that I was able to stay around as long as I did, and the people that I met, you know, through the experience. I would couldn't replace it for nothing in the world. You know, you want to have some people that's gonna always rub you the wrong way, but the people that love you and the people that care about you, man, you never forget those people forever. And I'm really thankful for the Baltimore Ravens for giving me an opportunity to be a part of one of the best organizations in the world. And, you know, being able to take you to training camp, and all I had to do is pick up my phone and send a text message, you know, to be able to get the access that we was able to get. And you saw the text I sent you, Matt. You know, it was like they was, you know, Dan, you could come on the field, but Matt got to sit in the stands. And then when we get there, here, you on the field, they treated you just like they treated me.
And that was the craziest part of it, because I was totally cool with the text message, like, hey, you got to stay with the family and friends in one of those 2 areas. But which
was still a VIP area. It was separate from all the rest of the fans, but still, you know, the fact that they allowed you to come down on the sideline to meet the players, to talk to the players, to be able to, you know, to talk to everybody that was on the practice field. It wasn't nobody you didn't have access to for those 3 hours. And I love that.
That was the greatest part of it. And I'll say this to everybody that's listening or will see this: you've been retired from the Ravens organization since 2009, and 16 years later, 17 years later, they still remember you and they love you, and it's unconditional. There was people in the cafeteria that remembered you, in the wait staff, the locker room.
Yeah,
you know,
my boy,
that just goes to show. That just goes to show what type of impact you had here as a player. And
thanks, Matt. Appreciate that, bro.
The love that I'm gonna you know, enjoy this part for the rest of my life, because when I told my dad about the experience I had. My dad's favorite baseball player in the entire world is Jim Palmer.
Mm-hmm.
And me meeting Ozzie Newsome was the equivalence of what my dad would have met Jim Palmer if he had the chance to, and have a 40-minute conversation with him.
Yeah,
I could have listened to Ozzie Newsome talk all day long. And to you, Ozzie was your general manager. He was your mentor in the scouting phase of your career with the Ravens. And just listening to him talk and the wealth of knowledge, I will never be able to replicate that with anybody else ever. And it's like I was sitting there listening to arguably one of the greatest tight ends, if not the greatest tight end in the world, talk to one of his proteges from the Ravens about just the nuances of football and what Ozzie can see with the naked eye, other people would never be able to pick up on in a million years. and you know, him telling, like, just the story about the 40-yard dash times that we were talking about for the scouting, when he was talking about he saw Michael Jackson run a 4.19 on his stopwatch, and how he couldn't go back to Bill Belichick with that time when he was working with the Browns, and then saying how Tez Walker almost timed the exact same, and how you brought up the story where he was watching guys trying out run a 40-yard dash, and he was calling out their 40 times from a half a field away
with no
and
stopwatch.
with no stopwatch, and he was on the nose, on the money.
Shit crazy.
It's so crazy, but the fact that the man treated me like he treated you,
right,
speaks volumes to not only who you are but who he is. And I felt like I was a retired player. Like I was in awe of just how a finely tuned machine that the Ravens organization is. I'm not ass kissing or anything like that, because everything that they did on that field was with purpose. Everything had a purpose, from the calisthenics to the position drills to the the defense and the offense splitting up, and it just seems like everything, being a week and a half into training camp, everything was so finely tuned already. And I know they still have mistakes that they made, and they were still fine tuning the engine, but I've never had that experience in my life, and I haven't been able to stop talking about it to the people that have been asking me questions. And a lot of people were, one thing that we respected is that when they blew that horn for practice, they asked us to put our phones away.
Yeah.
So we could have taken a million pictures. Like you told me, you would have taken pictures of me talking to Lamar Jackson if we were allowed to have our phones out. But I was appreciative of that rule. And I know that you said that might have been a new rule for what you've experienced with the team. But I was appreciative of that because I got to be in the moment and genuinely talk to people. You and Jameel McClain and Haruki stopping by, talking to CoCap, talking to, all these different people. And I got to actually just sit there and absorb it like a sponge and have the time of my life. I told Samantha that other than marrying her and watching Aubrey be born, that was the greatest day of my life. That was the third. That was the third greatest day of my life. And
that's awesome, man. No, that's awesome, man. For real.
Because
like I come from a different perspective than you, right? Like, so like I went through my entire childhood, never ever seeing an NFL player in person. And so when I got to the NFL, that was the first time I got a chance to really meet an NFL player, or to be, on the NFL, in the NFL stadium. My first time going was playing. I never went to a Falcons game growing up as a kid, so I can understand what you're saying. I was a kid that dreamed of being in the NFL one day, and I was a fan of football, but I wasn't. I don't know if I've ever really kind of. I don't know if you can say I was starstruck, because I don't know. This experience was weird for me. I don't know. I felt like I worked my ass off to get there. It was a figment of my imagination. Never thought I would actually be there. Then when I walk into the Jets stadium, the Jets locker room for the first time, and you see Curtis Martin sitting there and Vinny Testaverde sitting there, Santana Moss come in as a draft pick with me, and you seeing all the superstars, that played for the Jets, the Wayne Krebets, it was just so many. So many, Anthony Beck, who's now a coach, one of the UFL teams right now. And it was a phenomenal experience, man. Herm Edwards was my head coach, and it was great, as a fan perspective, and as a kid, I couldn't imagine kind of being in your space. And I've been trying to think about this ever since we left, because being in your space, like, it's like me growing up in Atlanta, watching the Falcons play. We had Brett Favre for a split second. Deion was a freaking king. Everybody wanted to act like they was Deion when I was a kid. Every time a kid got on the football field, I'm Deion, like trying to pretend like they Deion Sanders and stuff like that, imagining they was like Mike or whatever, but to watch those guys grow up, to be able to watch the Falcons be who they were, it would be equivalent, I guess, to me going to the Falcons training camp, never making it to the NFL, and as a kid only dreaming of seeing these guys in person, or whatever. And I think that was a pretty dope experience, man. Like, from my side, from the outside looking in, taking you in, I had no idea how you would react, or that this was the first time you was going to the castle, one winning drive. So being able to take you there, man, and then to see how excited you was while you was there, and You know, I don't know if you've met any of these players before outside of me. Like I'm around these guys all the time because I did the internship stuff there, and I go to all these games, and I go to all the things the Ravens invite me back to. Thank God to the Ravens for even allowing me to be a small piece of what they have now. You know, but to be able to go back as much as I do and do things and be involved, even in those situations, I'm not around the players a lot. You know, but when I am around them, you know, it's even kind of weird for me because I want to speak to him. I want to talk to him, but I feel like if I really don't know him, I got to introduce myself to him, and then I got to be able to speak to him about something of substance. And I think I deal with this same thing with my wife sometimes too. Like my wife will want to have conversations with me, and she'll call me, and we'll be on the phone, and I'm like, I'm in the middle of working, and it's not like I don't have anything to say to her. I mean, I love her, I care about her. You know, I think she's an amazing person. So it's like I want to talk to her, but it's like I don't have anything of substance to say right now. And I think I deal with that on a day-to-day basis when it comes to the players, you know. So when I saw Lamar walked over while me and Matt was on the sideline, and I went up and dapped Lamar up and was like, "Hey man, do you remember me, Lamar?" He was like, "Yeah, I remember me." It was like my rookie year. I was like, "Yeah." You know, I came back and did an internship going into his sophomore year into the league, you know. And me being a former player, you know, Zeus Jr. was here on the team, so Zeus knew me because I was like Uncle Wilcox to him. So to be, he hadn't seen me since his dad passed, you know, so I was able to kind of see him, and him and Lamar Locker were right next to each other. They both came in together, so it made me and Lamar conversation back and forth a little easier then, you know. And it's like I don't like to say I feel like awkward talking to players because I really don't. It's just it's one of those things. It's like everybody else up their ass. I don't need to be up their ass too. You know what I'm saying? So it's like it's one of those things for me. And I wanted to introduce you to as many people as I can, and as I could while we was there. And that was important to me to introduce you to people. I mean, right from the jump, you know, we saw Val, we saw Megan at the tents. Yeah. I wanted to introduce you to them. Like they've always been special people in my life, you know, from the time I got here. You know, even seeing Marisol standing up on the fence, you know, wanted to speak to Marisol as well. You know, anybody that's been around, anybody that helped me along my journey, I definitely want to introduce you to him. You know, like I didn't know we was going to see Ozzy. I didn't know we was going to talk to Ozzy. Matt said, "Hey, Ozzy's up there too, Wilcox. You want to go see him?" Well, hell yeah, let's go see Ozzy.
Yeah, I saw.
You know,
it was crazy because he was sitting off to the side.
Always, yeah, he's always ducked off.
The ramp that goes from the outdoor fields to the indoor practice field.
Mm-hmm.
He was in a folding chair with a bottle of water at his feet, and I literally turned around. I was like, Wilcox, there's Ozzy. I was like, holy shit, that's Ozzy Newsome. And you were like, let's go talk to him. I was like, and Matt Little was like, yeah, let's go. I'm like, oh my God, okay. So yeah. I thought we were gonna go over and say like a quick, hey, what's up? You know, you were gonna like talk to him for a few minutes, but when we stood there and he just starts rambling off, you know, things about our players and talking about the old times, and he's at that point, I just asked a couple of different questions, and he talked to me like he was talking to you. And the man is like one of one. He's probably the greatest general manager that ever lived, and he's the greatest tight end probably that we've ever seen up until the guys like Gronkowski and Gonzalez came around. And it was just a surreal experience. I felt like I was watching myself talk to Ozzy, have an out-of-body experience. I'm like, this is the fucking craziest thing. Like, people aren't even gonna believe this. And then because I took pictures of us when we got there, and when they told us to put the phones away, but like nobody was like, I would almost need photographic evidence. Like Lamar gave me a hug and started talking to me when he saw me. Like nobody. You're bullshit, Matt. Whatever. Everybody.
He probably thought you was a coach, Matt. He's like, who's this new coach?
So, and the thing is, and then when everybody was like, "Oh, you met Lamar," so what did you ask him about the show? I said, and I told this to everybody, and a lot of people looked at me crazy. I did not mention the podcast to any of the players.
Right.
That was one thing I was adamant on not doing, is mentioning the podcast to the players, because I didn't want it to look like I was being an opportunist, and I wanted to make sure that with me being with you, I wasn't going to have people, you know, have their feathers ruffled in your lane. So the only person we talked to about it, and you were surprised that he said yes, but Ozzy wants to come on. So I thought that was the coolest thing in the world. And you're like, leave that man alone. And you're pulling me like I'm a kid that, you know, is attracted to candy store. And it's like, I for everybody watching, I was very well behaved. I didn't I didn't do anything that would draw attention to us. I talked to Lamar for a little bit too long, and you tapped me on the shoulder. You're like, "Hey, let him go. They're waiting on 11. Let's go." Like, and then
you did not embarrass me, Matt. That's the thing. I mean, I think that's the most important thing to take from this. Like being enamored and being in a situation you've never been in before, and being in that moment, it's kind of easy to act like a kid in the candy store and try to have all those conversations and introduce yourself to everybody that you can, And I was trying to explain this to Matt, when we after the practice was over with and stuff, when we left, I was like, I wanted to talk to as many guys as we could, and I wanted Matt to introduce himself to many guys. I want to introduce him to as many people as I could, but I also was trying to be very cognizant of this is work for them. Like, for us, it's like, wow, we're in the middle of this situation. This is amazing. I'm getting to meet all the people that I always wanted to meet. They're all here, right here in front of me at my fingertips. I can reach out and touch them, shake their hands, the whole 9 yards. We still had to be cognizant that they're in the middle of work. So it's like going on Wall Street and they're all bidding on stuff, and you trying to have a conversation with them about a podcast, or try to have a conversation with them about, hey man, that throw you did last week, or whatever the situation is you're talking about them. They're in the middle of Wall Street with millions of dollars on the line, and they're betting right now, and they're trying to not lose the money that they worked their ass off to get.
right.
So the wrong person see them talking to us on the sideline for too long. They like, what the fuck is Lamar doing? Or
Yeah,
and I just I didn't want that to happen. So I was trying to be very cognizant that these guys are at work. This is their place of business. They're in the middle of a boardroom. They're in the middle of a conference. Like every time they're practicing, all eyes should be on the field at all times. They're not supposed to be mingling with the guys that's on the sideline. So we was in the middle of every practice field. We stood right next to it. We could be right next to the guys on the side. We could be anywhere we pretty much wanted to go while we was there. But we tried to be cognizant of rules and understand that Jesse just got a head job here, and we didn't want to put him in any bad spots either. So we just wanted to be cognizant of that the entire time. And Matt did a phenomenal job. Like, he really did. He did a phenomenal job. And not just Matt Trigger, but Matt Little, the guy that works for the Ravens. He's in charge of alumni relations, and he's the one that kind of pulled all the strings for us to do what we did. And I appreciate Matt Little to death. And Matt,
Absolutely.
I love the fact that you got a chance to experience something in a different light, like in a different way, right? It's like me going back to be a player personnel and being in the scouting department. I had been there all that time, but I never got a chance to experience what they had to go through every single day, and it enlightened me so much. So I was glad that you got a chance to go into the indoor facility, walk through the facility and walk all the way from the player side where the cafeteria is all the way to the other side. Yeah, Matt even offered us something to eat if we wanted to go in there and sit down and eat. We could have went and ate in the cafeteria and everything, and then you could have really been free to talk. Yeah, you could have really talked to guys then, Matt. If we went in there and sat down and ate and stuff, you probably could have really sat down and actually went and sat at somebody's table and then talk to them. Then it would have been a better situation, a better time. It's still training camp, so you got to keep that in mind. If it was a regular season, I'd have been all for that shit, because they probably wouldn't have had nothing else to do at dinner time after practice. They would have been ready to go shower and go home after they ate. So it's all about timing and just us being in the right place at the right time. We'll get a chance to talk to these guys and get these guys to come do what we got to do.
Right. And one thing I realized that we were in a different situation when they went over the loudspeakers and they announced that the lightning struck and that they had to clear out practice. So I'm looking at you and I'm like, shit, is our day over? And you're like, nah, come on. So we literally walked around the far end practice field, and then Matt Little's standing there with us. We watch all the players run inside. Everybody's running inside. Eric DaCosta was out there. You said what's up to him. And then we go inside with Matt and we stand in the corner, watch the rest of the indoor practice. And then they set up for the media session over in the corner. You and I got to sit there and watch the media scrum. And the coolest part about that wasn't watching Jesse Minter talk to the media, Wilcox. The coolest part was after Minter stepped away from the podium, Chad Steele does this to us, like, come here. And we walked around into the end zone, and he introduced us to Jesse Minter. Well, you've known Jesse, but I got a chance to meet the new head coach, and he's one of the nicest people in the world. And another person that was incredibly gracious and welcoming was George Kakinas. That man he
Yeah.
spoke to us every time he walked by. And
Right.
shout out to Jameel McLean. He stopped by and checked on us a bunch. Haruki Nakamura did. It's like a family atmosphere up there, and it was really cool to be treated as one because I was there with you. And they didn't decipher. They didn't ask me. Nobody asked me who you are. Like they didn't say who are you. They were
Right.
like, oh, you're friends with Wilcox. Oh, you guys have the show together. A couple of people recognize us from that, and it was just an overall fantastic experience. It was one of those things that I'll if I ever get dementia, I'll still remember that.
You're so stupid. Well, we're gonna pray first of all, knock on wood.
Yeah,
No
knock on wood.
dementia, no dementia, no Alzheimer's in your future. You're good. Yeah, man, it was awesome. It was an awesome experience for me, man, to be a part of it with you too, Matt. I can tell how excited you were, man. I could tell you was trying to contain it. I could see it.
I was. I didn't fanboy. I contained my excitement.
Yeah.
But I'll say this: like just being around those guys, a lot of them are very humble, very down to earth. I want to say this: a lot of people have given Chad Steele a bad reputation for how he's talked to certain people, handled certain things. He has a very important job with the Ravens and the NFL in general. He was incredibly nice to us when he was talking to us.
Yeah, Chad got a very stressful job.
He does.
He has to round up. So this I always explain being a coach. You're a grown man trying to deal with other grown men. They all from different walks of life. And every one of these dudes got a different personality. You never know what you're going to get from them. It's over 60 some guys you got to deal with. That's just the players. You also have to organize your entire coaching staff, another 20, 30 guys that's on your coaching staff that you have to organize with them as well. And you got to speak to the media, and you got to speak to the press, and you got to speak to the HR department in your office and everything on the other end down there. All the Ravens media people that work there. You got the cafeteria people. Everybody's looking at the head coach a certain light. And for Chad Steele, he's in charge of media relations and stuff and making sure that all of us, the media, get to speak to the guys they want to speak to. And he has to deal with all personalities, our temperaments. Sometimes we come out the field, we tired as hell. We don't want to go talk to no damn media. Like, hell no, Chad, I don't want to deal with that shit. And he got to deal with those, even if we playing, we like, fuck no, Chad, I don't want to do that right now. He don't have time for that. He really trying to get us riled up and get us where we got to go. And he's like herding cattle. After practice, he's herding cattle, trying to get guys in place, and he got to get everybody. He can't just go get Jesse. He got to go get Nate Wiggins. He got to go get Lamar. He got to go get freaking Jacoby Lane. He got to go get all the guys that they want to speak to, and he got to go grab them guys and bring them in. The Marlon Humphreys on the team, the Roquan Smiths on the team. Everybody got a different personality, and everybody got something better to do than talking to the media, for the most part. So when he do those things, man, he it's a tough job for him to have to deal with all those personalities and attitudes and temperaments and be able to corral those guys and still be cool. I've never told Chad no. Never. From day one, when I got to Baltimore 2004, for 5 years, he came and asked me anything. I've never told him no. He can't, I guarantee you he can't think of one time that he asked me to fill in for somebody or to come talk to the media in any situation. I always looked at it like it was a gift. Like, God is blessing me. Why would I say no? Like, this is a blessing that somebody actually wants to talk to me. Out of all these players on the team, they want to talk to me right now. So I looked at it like it was a blessing and it was a gift and it was an opportunity for me to show the world my personality and who I was. And I didn't want to ignore it at all. So I was always, yes, whatever you need, Chad, I got you.
And being around everybody being in the indoor portion of the practice, seeing all the players walk by us, there's no goddamn reason Derrick Henry is as big as he is and as fast as he is, Wilcox. I'm gonna just paint this picture. And
grown ass man.
He's like 2 inches shorter than the offensive lineman. As a running back, he's typically running backs range anywhere from 5'8" to 6'1", maybe your occasional 6'2", like an Eddie George. But Derrick Henry is almost eye level with the offensive line and standing straight up. He's got Hulk Hogan arms. He's got Hulk Hogan arms. If you were to build a created player on Madden, with the muscle content turned up to 100 and the speed turned up to 100, and you put the legs up to 100, that's Derrick Henry.
It's Derrick Henry.
He's very mild mannered. He's very soft spoken. Like when I introduced myself to him, he just said "What's up?" and he kept moving. I wasn't going to bother Derrick. He was in the locker. He was in the weight room after practice. So
Yeah.
I picked and chose my spots relatively well. But like the offensive line, Vega,
Yeah.
his hands look like boxing gloves.
Right.
These Samoan dudes are just built different. I don't know. I met Haloti Nada years ago, and Haloti, you got big. Like your hands are big, you know. But it looked like when Vega like dapped me up walking by, his fingertips touched my Ravens tattoo halfway up my forearm, and it's like I would hate to get hit by that. Like I've realized now, I'm cool with being an average Joe, Wilcox. I'm
Yeah.
cool with that because, like you're willingly
Yeah.
throwing yourself in front of these people, and it's like, geez, like the new center we signed, Pochik.
Yeah.
He's 6'6" and 325 pounds.
It's a big ass center.
And a lot of people don't realize this because they're watching him in full uniform, pads, leg, you know, the thigh pads, the knee pads, the shoulder pads, and the helmet.
Mm-hmm.
Most of these linemen have a gut with a six-pack on top of them.
Mm-hmm.
And they're just
in great shape.
They're in great, phenomenal shape. I was watching Matt Abike run sprints on Saturday, and he looks like he's flying down the field, and they were like, oh, like he was doing 50%. I'm like, what the fuck? Like, excuse my language. Like, that man is he's a chiseled out demon. Like he looks just like Aaron Donald. And I'm in awe because it's like I've really wanted to do this 20 years ago. And I'm 6 feet tall, and I'm like, you know, I could have handled my own. I would have been okay. But it's like seeing how fast they are, seeing how quick.
I think you could have did it, Matt. I think you could have did it if you put your mind to it, man. I mean, Kelly Gregg wasn't even 6 feet, bro.
Right.
I think you could have did it, bro.
And like watching the rookie Zion Young, Zion's wearing Justin Tucker's old number.
Yeah. Looks different on him.
It does. His first step off the line of scrimmage is so fucking fast. I'm like, he's gonna be hell for a lot of these players. A lot of these offensive linemen. Mike Green is fast. Roquan doesn't look as fat as he does on TV. I'll say that. I make fun of Roquan. See, I gave him a hard time for being a little chubby last year and all that, and he might have been. But Roquan Smith is a solid, like he's like a brick wall running around out there.
I don't think it was that long ago, man. I think it was the beginning of mini camps. He reported to mini camps or something. He was like, he's fat. You sent me a picture and everything.
and then I'm standing 5 feet away from him. I'm like, this dude's a fucking brick house. I immediately had to like correct myself on air when we got on live again. I'm like, there's no way. All of them, and there's a couple guys that are on the smaller side, but they make up for it with their insane athleticism.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we were both looking, and we didn't know how big or small Webb Jr. was, Lardarius Webb Jr. He's on the smaller side, but the dude flies around. And he was out there. He's wearing number 34 this preseason. Now, getting to the team, you know, enough about my experience, and I want to thank you again for that. That was incredible. But Wilcox, I can almost say with certainty, and I'll agree with what Ozzy told you and I, that this team is pretty much set. We're just looking for a couple depth pieces here and there. We're gonna have to Eric's gonna have to do some magic, stowing away some of these guys on the practice squad, hoping that they clear waivers. But your initial thought to the vibe of camp under Jesse Minter and what you saw on the field?
I love it. You know, I love it. You could tell that guys are competing, and you can tell that guys it's a blank slate. It's a blank slate out there, Matt. Like, it's to the point where the players know that even if they third screen or fourth screen guys from last year, they got a chance to start this year. They just got to go out there and make plays. And I think you're seeing it. You're hearing the buzz. You're hearing about Jacoby Lane. He just got here, and it's buzzing all over the place how great he looks and how different this kid is. And they finally got it right at the receiver position. And what they're talking about Jacoby Lane, he may be a starter by mid-season or by first 3 or 4 games this year. So, but the buzz it's really good. You know, like I mean, everybody I talk to, like from the personnel department, you know, from the player personnel department to the front office to, you know, Ozzy, you know, to the players, like, you know, like everybody. It's like almost a relief. You know, it's just so different. And you can hear the players talk about it on the news too. Like Marty did an interview the other day, and it was like it's everybody seems so much more relaxed, or so much more appreciative. I heard Marlon Humphreys do an interview the other day that kind of blew me away. It was probably one of the most impressive videos. Interviews I think I've heard him do, and we know he talks a lot, you know. But Marlon was talking about how he feel like he just don't want to leave the facility now. He just want to stay at the facility and want to learn from these guys because they're that different. And what I can tell you about Jesse, from my knowledge of him, when I was at Georgia State, we was able to, the staff I came in with, Jesse had just left, and he had just left the cornerbacks at Georgia State. And those cornerbacks were like, they were the number one secondary in the Sun Belt that year that Jesse was there. There's 2 years he was there. One of those guys haven't given up a touchdown with Jesse as his coach in the secondary. And the stuff they was doing was all NFL caliber stuff. They wasn't doing any college level type of coverages. So when the new staff came in with me, they kept talking about, the stuff these guys are doing way too complex. We're going to dumb it down. We're going to make it simplified and just make it KISS, like keep it simple, stupid type thing. And we just going to let these guys fly around. It was the number one secondary in the nation last year, like in the whole Sun Belt Conference last year. Like, why would you change anything? Like, right. I understand what you're saying, but to me, what it sounds like you're saying is you're not smart enough to continue to do what they was already doing, and it's too complicated for you, because these guys have showed and proved that what they're doing has been very successful. They was number one secondary in the whole Sun Belt, and Jesse was the cause of that. You know, and through the new staff, the secondary got worse and worse and worse, and it wasn't a great situation, you know, for those kids. And I hate it. I hate that kids didn't play as good as they could have played underneath a coach like Jesse. And what that told me then was that Jesse was able to get the most out of these guys, and all those secondary players loved him to death. And now he's the head coach of our team, the Baltimore Ravens. I love that, because if college players will run through a brick wall for you and they believe in what you're doing in your system and they're able to learn that system, our DBs are going to be able to learn the system the exact same way, and it's going to be a great situation for these guys, and they're going to probably be able to play better and at a higher level than they played in the years past.
Yeah, I noticed that it was a very loose atmosphere. They were locked in, but Ozzy and Jameel McClain both echoed the sentiment that if it was the previous regime, guys like Elijah Surratt and Jacoby Lane wouldn't be getting the opportunities as early on as they are, because from all accounts and from what we witnessed at practice, Jacoby Lane could very well be wide receiver 2 this year.
Can be, absolutely.
And Ozzy spoke highly of him, and
he did.
And
he did.
That right there is like the stamp of approval to me. If Ozzy likes you and sees talent in you, you have a good chance to succeed in this league. And he was pretty much saying that he's going to take reps from everybody not named Zay Flowers. And, you know, he high points the ball. He goes up and gets it. And he's physical. And he's a big dude. Jacoby's every bit of 6'4".
Every bit of it.
Every bit of 6'4". He's long and lean. And his athleticism. It's like he's jumping out of the gym in red zone. You know, that's going to be dangerous with you know, Derek and Lamar, Zay and Mark Andrews, and that kid from Alabama. I want to talk about him for a second. Cuevas, he looked good at practice on Saturday.
The tight end.
The tight end.
Yeah, I wish I'd had a chance to watch more of the practice. I didn't get a chance to watch as much as I wanted to, but I really wanted to check out both tight ends, both young tight ends, and kind of see what I thought. The stuff I've heard, amongst the other people, yeah, he the one. Cuevas is the one. Like they really like that kid a lot. He's doing some really great things, and he's all around polished, and he looks really good. He looks the part, and he's playing the part right now. And he's done some really great things to kind of catch their attention. So if I had to say who's number 2 right now between 88 and 85, I would say it's probably 85.
Yeah.
Cuevas.
And one thing I want to pat myself on the back for is that when I asked Ozzy about Durham Smythe, I said, is he kind of this iteration of Nick Boyle? And he was like, that's a good comparison. So the fact that I brought up a football statement and a football comparison and the GOAT GM was like, yeah, that makes sense. I was like, you know what?
Stamp of approval.
I was like, yeah, like Ozzy agreed with something I said. You can't tell me shit.
I agree with stuff you say all the time, Matt. You never give me that. Like you never say anything like that about me.
Oh my God.
I mean, when I agree with you, and I'm like, yeah, Matt, you're 100% right. I agree. You don't say shit.
I do. I thank you.
Of course, Daniel Wilcox agrees with me. What the fuck,
Oh man, that's funny.
Yeah.
Oh man, but the team they look good. We've had a couple of injury scares the last couple of days. Nate Wiggins went down yesterday with a knee injury, and he couldn't put any weight on the left leg. And then it was reported a couple hours later that there's no structural damage to his knee, so he's a wait and see approach. Nate is one of those guys. I know he's still relatively new in the league, but you don't need to play him in the preseason to kind of know that he's going to be ready to go for the regular season. Marlon Humphrey went down with in a one-on-one drill today. As much shit as I've given Marlon Humphrey over the last couple of years on this show, I don't ever want to see anybody get hurt. And Marlon's seems to be a little bit more on the serious side. They've been very quiet about the injury since it went down. So, prayers to Marlon for a speedy recovery, and we can get him back. He is important to this defense. And a lot of people have known Marlon to be a solid cornerback at times, and other times not so much. But he's important because with Nate and Awuzie playing the outside, Marlon playing in that slot, that slot cornerback position gives him the ability to kind of roam and make plays based on reaction as opposed to anything else. So I do want to see Marlon not miss any significant time, because after the first 3 cornerbacks that I was just talking about, there's a dip. Then they got to find depth. TJ Tampa's having a great camp. He looked great on Saturday in the limited time that we saw him. But we got Chandler Rivers that we drafted. We have Bilal Cohn and Robert Longerbeam coming back from their injuries. So there's a lot going on at the cornerback position, Wilcox, and we just got to pray that our guys stay healthy. The defensive line looks like it's pretty much set. You got John Jenkins and Travis Jones and Nnamdi Madubuike at defensive tackle. You have Zion and Mike Green and Trey Hendrickson and Tavius Robinson at the edge. Speaking of those guys are fucking huge too. Tavius Robinson and Trey Hendrickson, they're giants.
Yeah.
They're like Tavius Robinson. It looks like he could be a defensive tackle, and he plays edge. I mean, he's a
big boy.
He's not like fat or anything. He's just a massive human being. And inside linebacker is a little bit iffy past Trenton Simpson and Roquan. Teddy Buchanan is ahead of schedule. We saw him working out on the side field. He was doing some workouts with the physical trainers and all those folks. But offense-wise, you pretty much know who it's going to be. And you asked a question to Ozzy about Wester. So I want you to kind of tell everybody what Ozzy said to you in regards to where Wester stands on this team. Because you asked Ozzy and you asked Jameel McLean what you thought, because you noticed that Wester switched his number from 83 to 10.
Correct.
So you were kind of asking around, because we're looking at the top 5 pass catchers for the wide receiver room between Zay, Bateman, Surratt, Jacoby Lane, and Devontae Walker. That's a very crowded room.
It is.
So let everybody know, what was told to you and how you saw it.
I honestly don't remember, Matt, but I can tell you how I remember it, or how I feel like it is. I feel like Wester is a guy that is shifty enough, fast enough, and athletic enough where he can back up a Zay Flowers. I also feel like he'll be a special team, guy for us for the most part. Returning punts, returning kicks. That's where he'll make the majority of his money. Kind of like a Yamon Figures type for us. Back when I played, he had, or BJ Sams type. He has the ability to go back there and return kicks and punts for us and do great for us. But I feel like he's also able to contribute at the receiver. He's so poised and so talented and so polished at the receiver spot that he should be a guy that should be able to get some kind of reps on the field this season. I don't remember what Ozzy said when I asked him the question. I'm drawing a blank right now, and I don't remember what Jameel said either. But I was curious.
I listened to Jameel's answer more than Ozzy.
Yeah,
Ozzy was just listing off his qualities and like you just did essentially. Yeah. But Jameel said that he was more of a return man right now, and that he's got a lot to get ahead of in terms of depth chart wise. We're not even mentioning the fact that Chris Moore is a Raven again.
Yeah, I think Chris is more of a special teams guy for us, though. Unfortunately, I think he's going to be a guy that he'll kind of be like a Brendan Ayanbadejo was until he started playing linebacker, or Gary Steele's type. But he's just happened to be at the receiver spot versus a linebacker spot. But I think he brings flexibility to the special teams units, all of them. Punt return, kickoff return, and I think that's what they mainly gonna have him for. I don't think he's gonna be a guy they'll plug in at receiver unless they need him.
You're right.
In that moment, as we get injuries and stuff and guys go down, which that stuff happens every year, guys. It's 100% injury rate in the NFL. At some point, guys are gonna get hurt that you don't want to get hurt. Like Zay being down right now with a quad, to me is like, damn, that's not. I don't ever want to see that happen.
Right.
Marlon going down, Nate Wiggins going down. You got guys going down right now that we really don't want to go down, and they're starters. Every last one of these guys are starters, so it got you biting your nails. I feel like if we can stay healthy this year, the sky's the limit. Like, that's how good we're going to be. We're going to shock some people. We're going to surprise some people. People haven't had time to adjust to our new offense, haven't had time to adjust to our new defense, and until somebody show that they can stop both of those, then we won't have nothing to worry about. As of right now, we got a blank slate and we're able to take people by storm, but I agree. I think Wester is definitely a special teams guy for the most part right now, until he shows that he could come in and do some of the same things that Zay Flowers do, because he's a perfect size to kind of come in to back up Zay. And I think he's a little bigger than Zay from what I saw, when I saw him on the field. I was actually impressed with how much bigger he looked to me in person.
Yeah, he's definitely getting the NFL size now.
Yeah.
There's somebody I wanted to let at least through my eyes watching practice, and I pointed him out to you. Adam Randall, number 23, the running back that we drafted.
Big boy.
He is probably an inch shorter and probably about 15 pounds lighter than Derrick Henry, and the man is fast, and he runs angry, and having that type of back to back up Derrick Henry, you and I are both Keaton Mitchell guys. A lot of the Ravens fan base fell in love with Keaton Mitchell. He's no longer here. He's over in Baltimore Ravens West Coast, with the Los Angeles Chargers. But Randall, I'm excited to see him on Saturday, because I'm excited just in general to see a Ravens team coached by somebody other than John Harbaugh.
I think we all are, man.
It's a real palate cleanser.
Yeah, I think we all are. We're excited.
I don't even like, and the thing is, I'm not saying it just because this is one of those games where I truly don't care if we win or lose. It's a preseason game. It doesn't do anything
Yeah.
We need to figure out who is going to be the depth behind the stars. And if we can find a couple diamond in the rough type players, they've already come out and said that most of our starters aren't playing. I didn't expect them to play.
Yeah, neither did I.
You know, Lamar's. You know, they said yesterday. It was Tuesday, and they said Lamar Jackson's not playing Saturday. Well, we all knew that. It's going to be an exhibition game with a bunch of guys that are fighting for a roster spot somewhere else are going to be showcased to the rest of the league. I'm excited to see Randall. I'm excited to see how this offensive line looks, put together. Obviously, Stanley's not going to play. I doubt Rosengarten plays. I'm excited to see the kid from Appalachian State that you're excited about, Lamb, number 66.
Kendall Lamb.
Kendall Lamb, yep.
Yeah, I know Kendall bounced around the league a little bit too. He's been a pretty steady, lineman, guard type at plenty of places. I think the last place he might have been Houston with the Texans, if I remember correctly. Or maybe he started there. I can't remember. But he's a very talented guy, long arms, athletic, been around the league for a while. And I'm so proud of that kid, man. It just kind of, I didn't even know he was with the Ravens, Matt. Like, we go out there and I see him, I'm like, damn, that's Kendall. And I was like, I haven't seen this kid in a while, man. The fact that he saw me and knew exactly who I was right away was.
Yeah, he came over and dapped you up right after the practice was heading inside.
Yeah, I was happy. I'm happy for him to get the opportunity to kind of take some of the same footsteps I've taken. And I pray that he gets a legitimate chance here. Because a lot of times you don't always get a chance when you go somewhere, and we don't really know what we need, but until we need it, until it's there, and it shows us that we need it. So. Hopefully he'll be able to beat out some of these guys and be a very pivotal part of what we need this year for Lamar Jackson. We got to protect Lamar at all costs this year.
Yes, we do. And it's crazy because we gave the offensive line such a hard time last year, and deservedly so.
They earned that shit.
They earned every bad thing we ever said about them. I will say I'm so glad he's a New York Giant and he's not a Baltimore Raven. I'm so happy.
Yeah.
There's one thing that I noticed last year. I was banging on the table for Emory Jones to get some playing time.
Correct. We both were. We wanted to see the kid, see how he's going to do.
And now this year, I don't see a spot on the starting five for him. Because if you go systemically across the offensive line, Stanley, if he's healthy, he's going to be in the lineup. We gave John Simpson a 3-year, $30 million contract. He's going to be at left guard.
Yeah.
We signed Evan Pochik. Even though he's running with the twos right now at practice, he's going to end up starting. Okay. I don't think they're going to start Danny Painter over him. Even though Painter's been here all offseason, I don't believe that he's going to beat out Evan Pochik for a starting spot.
Yeah, and
then you got right guard. You got Vega at right guard.
Rosengarten.
And then Rosengarten. So Emory Jones might be our new version of Patrick McCary, where he can probably play 4 spots on the offensive line in a pinch. So there's that. And then there's the kid Bullock who played center for us last year as a backup.
Yeah.
And we drafted a couple offensive linemen. So to me, offensive line is set. It might not be. Tyler Linderbaum's going to be missed. I'm not going to sit here and
very much
gloss over that. Going from Linderbaum to Pochik is a definite downgrade, and I'm not saying that in a negative way. But Tyler Linderbaum's a top 5 center in the NFL. Pochik was a top 10 center in the NFL, but he tore his Achilles. So I'm basing it off of the fact that he's coming back from an Achilles rupture.
Okay.
So you replace Voorhees with John Simpson. You replace Falele with Ione Vega.
With everybody. Everybody. Yeah. Anybody but him.
So to me, it's addition by subtraction where you're down 1 being Linderbaum, but you're up 2 with Simpson and Vega. So like you said last year on the show, and it's just always stuck with me ever since you said it. You can have one weak link on the offensive line, and you can protect them, and you can kind of shadow them with scheme and the blocking assignments and sets. But when you have 2 shitty offensive linemen, you can't really hide it anymore. And when your all-pro center is being weighed down by two underperforming below average guards, it affected the entire line. Like you said, Lamar Jackson can't be running for his life. He's knocking on the door of being 30 years old. He's been in the league almost a decade now. You got to protect this guy, and I think they're going to. I think our offensive line is going to be vastly improved this year.
I think you're 100% right, Matt. Like, there's not a doubt in my mind that since you got rid of Daniel Falele and there's no more Falele around, we'll be good. We'll be extremely good. I think we'll be so much better. And, we talked a little bit about this a couple of weeks ago when we was talking about the 69 spot that he put Lamar Jackson in from last season, which I think is horseshit. He's still the best player in the NFL, regardless. Yeah. At the end of the day, I hope Lamar is going to play this season with the type of chip on his shoulder that he got something to prove still. And if he comes back this year feeling like he got something to prove and he's trying to get to that Super Bowl, he should know that they have done everything in that player personnel department for the Baltimore Ravens to put him in a situation to be successful by bringing Derrick Henry back, Justice Hill back, Ali back, and then stacking this offensive line with all these picks and all these extra guys they brought in to try to help load this line up and make it more fruitful for him and, easier space for him to be back there when he drops back to throw the ball. And then even putting him on the center with the Doyle offense, with Doyle's new offense, I think that helps him tremendously. Like, he's running away from the line after he snaps the ball, and he's not just standing back there like a sitting duck, getting his knees like shots to get blown up and stuff. But
yeah,
I think it puts him in a much better situation. And I think what you'll see is that play action will be a hell of a lot better for Lamar this year because of that.
You're right, and I'm a add on to that by telling everybody what Ozzie said to you, because one of the first questions you asked Ozzie is, why did we let Pat Ricard go? And Ozzie flat out said the New York Giants bought Pat Ricard.
They bought him.
And he said and then his next statement was Declan's offense isn't going to be fullback centric. So I'm not expecting, if anybody wants to get an idea of Declan Doyle's offense, just go on YouTube and look at the Detroit Lions offense and look at the Chicago Bears offense and look at the Denver Broncos offense. Right. He is a disciple of Sean Payton and Ben Johnson. And that's where I'm at with it. If he uses running backs a lot in the passing game, and there was no fullback in sight. Most of the time, the fullback was the move tight end, and it was the second guy that was in line on the tight end spot. So, it was. I'm expecting that's what Smythe is going to be to us, and I said that to you when we were watching practice. I was like, Smythe is going to be what we were expecting Ricard to be, and I'm not gonna try and sugarcoat anything. Losing Ricard is going to hurt the run game. Yeah. It's not going to hurt the run game immensely, but it's going to definitely be a different effect when you don't have a 315-pound fullback anymore, who's as big as your offensive lineman.
Correct.
But I totally believe that Lamar is going to come in this year pissed off. He'll never show it. He's never going to tell you verbally that he's upset about something in particular, about something as silly as a ranking about the 100 best players in the league. You can't find 5 that are better than Lamar Jackson. And I don't care if he's my quarterback. He's your quarterback.
Yeah.
That man's one of the greatest football players that ever walked this earth.
I agree.
And
100% agree.
His stats speak for it. The MVPs, the All-Pros. I want this young man to get a Super Bowl. And I'm going to tell everybody what you told Jesse Minter. This was one of the coolest things that I heard you say to Jesse, is that you're going to be the first rookie head coach to win a Super Bowl, and you're going to put another banner on the wall for us.
Sure.
And you told him that you believed him and believed in him, and the look of respect that he gave you and patting you on the chest and saying, yeah, that's the goal. I'm fully expecting this team to bounce back from an 8-9 year. The stench of last year is finally off of us.
Yeah.
I'm excited to see how Jesse leads these men. And we're now one of those teams, Wilcox, that you and I have been talking about for the last couple of years. When are we going to get a coach in here that is forward thinking? When are we going to get a coach in here that is some fresh young blood where he's in his 30s or his 40s and he's not in his 60s? You know?
Yeah.
And it's no shade to the Harbaugh's age, but Harbaugh was that fresh young guy back in 2008 when you were here, and 2009, and then he became the elder statesman, and then eventually became the grumpy old man, get off my lawn kind of shit. Now we got Jesse, who's mid 40s. He's got an energetic. He's got a 29-year-old offensive coordinator.
Yeah.
You know, he's got Anthony Weaver, who should be a head coach somewhere.
Correct. I agree with you on that too. Shit.
And they've revamped the coaching staff. I'm so excited just to see these guys play, and I felt the energy, and it didn't seem like it was any. You know, I can only imagine what a Harbaugh camp felt like. I'm sure there wasn't music playing over the loudspeakers like there was during practice. Minter really kept it more like a game setting where there's going to be music playing, there's going to be fans yelling, there's going to be distractions. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So, to me, that's perfect. Like he kept it loose, but those guys are focused, and I can tell you right now that this is going to be a special year for us, and I know you agree. But before we wrap the show, I'm not going to ask you for a prediction. It's preseason, and the wins and losses are just that they're meaningless. What are you hoping to see from the Ravens on Saturday night?
I just want to see some of these young guys play. You know, that's it. I just want to see these guys have an opportunity to make the roster and make the team, and see if we got anything out there that's a gamer. You know, sometimes you see guys in practice, they look decent, they look good, but when you get to the game, they either show up or show out, or just disappear. You know, the moment's too big for some of these guys. So, you know, you could be a practice All-American and get to the game and just don't show up at all. I just want to kind of see if we got some young talent out there that could actually come help us get to a Super Bowl this year. Some guys that's going to actually stunt for us. And I just want to see the young guys that we drafted play. You know, I can't wait to see 9 play. I really can't.
Yeah.
You know, I really want to see what that guy's going to do.
Yeah.
You know, Malachi Starks, it was good to kind of see him out there. He's a name that's, to me, just flies under the radar for some reason, Matt. I just really want to see him come into his own. He's a Georgia boy. He came from UGA. He's from the Georgia area. I just want to see this guy play his ass off. You know, I'm so used to our safeties being big name guys, and Malachi has potential to be a big name safety in this league. I just want to see him come into his own this year. So preseason would be big for him, for me. And then, of course, I want to see these young tight ends. I want to see what they got to offer. I want to see them in action.
2 things before we go. I saw them in the chat right here. Did we give Dayton Wade a chance at wide receiver? We just talked about that a couple minutes ago. I don't believe that he's going to be able to crack. The wide receiver room is so deep, and that's going to be a hard. We were talking about Wester having a hard time getting playing time,
right?
Let alone undrafted free agent from a couple years ago. And then Jay said pick 2 games so him and Amelia will be happy with it. So they want you to pick 2 games to attend this year for them.
To attend for them?
Yeah.
2 games that they need to go to?
Yeah, 2 games that you think that they should attend this year.
Well, hold on, Jay. Let me pull
and
up.
Don't say Brazil. Whatever you do, don't say Brazil.
I'm not going to give anybody else a chance to go to Brazil if I'm not going. Shit. I'm not going, so I'm not worried about nobody else going. Let me pull up my schedule. Go ahead, Matt. You can keep talking. I'm gonna pull up my schedule and see if I can find 2 games for Jada.
He said 2 epic home games. I believe that.
Oh, home. We want home games.
Home games, yeah.
Okay. So we got the Saints at home, the Titans at home, the Bengals at home, the Jaguars at home, the Chargers at home. Bye week.
I think the Chargers is a must. I'd like to see the Buccaneers. If I was Jay, Buccaneers would be a good game.
I feel like our division games are always our hardest games. So when you think about, we got Cincinnati and we got Pittsburgh at home. Pittsburgh, the last game of the year at home. We're going to be
That's a
crazy.
good one. Yeah, it's
I
going to
think
be a
that's going to be
crazy.
a crazy game to go to.
That's either going to be for the division, or that's going to be where we're resting our starters, and you're going to see the JV squad against the varsity squad.
Right.
You know,
And then they got the Bengals at week 7. I think that's going to be a hell of a game with Joe Burrow.
I think the Chargers are going to be a good home game. You know, seeing.
I was about to say that next.
Yeah,
that's
Chargers,
week 10. Week 10.
My pick would be the Chargers and the Bucks.
Mine would probably be the Bengals and the Chargers.
Okay.
Yeah,
that's fair. See Joe Flacco come home, because who knows if Burrow is going to be healthy enough for anything.
Yeah, right.
You know, he steps off the curb and misses 6 weeks.
Yeah, I mean, even that Jaguars game, I think it's going to be a tough game for us. You know, like Trevor.
They always
Lawrence,
play us hard, though. They always play us tough.
They do, and Trevor Lawrence is starting to gain confidence. You know, so if he stays healthy, it's going to come down to how healthy we are this year, how great we'll be. You know, but I told Jesse, I think we got a chance to start off the season 4-0, and we got 4 tough games. You know, we got the Colts, the Saints, the Dallas Cowboys, and the Tennessee Titans. The Titans are going to come here with a young quarterback that they drafted out of Miami last year, and he had a decent first year and struggled a lot because he just didn't have no blocking, just like Lamar didn't.
Right.
You know, so at the same time, that's Derrick Henry's old team, so he got some juice. He gonna want the ball a lot that game. You know,
that should be a 25 carry, 200-yard game for him.
I think so too. You know, I think they should pound the rock as much as possible with Derrick during that week. You know, give him an opportunity to kind of show them boys he still got some juice left. But it's a lot. It's going to be a lot of great games this year. Like, I mean, the Bucks is my old team. Of course, the Ravens is my squad. You know, so to be able to see the Ravens play the Bucks, I might make that trip myself. I might actually make that trip myself. You know, cool. So that may be one game me and CI might come up to, since we both played for the Bucks and the Ravens, me and Corey Ivy.
Yeah.
You know, but I don't know. You know, anytime we get a chance to play one of our division rivals at home, I don't think it's ever a bad game.
I agree. I agree. Now, yeah, I'm excited for, you know, the in division games. I love it's always a little bit more amped up, but yeah. Well, thank you everybody for tuning in with the questions. Thank you guys for sharing your thoughts. I had an amazing experience at camp on Saturday. Hopefully that's the first of many with the Ravens, how gracious they were to us. Wilcox, thank you again for that. But we'll be back early next week to recap the preseason game. If there's any major news, you know, we'll hop on air. But you can find me at mtrigwbp 3547 on X, mtrig89 on IG. You can type my name in on Facebook and on TikTok. Wilcox, where can everybody find you?
At Coach Wilcox on X and at Daniel.Wilcox on IG. Thank you guys for tuning in. Another great night. Don't forget to go to YouTube, like, subscribe, and follow the channel and turn your notifications on. Continue to do that. And please continue to send your friends and everybody else there. I think we're over 450 followers already.
We're almost to 450 subscribers. So
almost 450 subscribers. We need about another 2,000 of them this year. So
yes,
we want to keep growing this channel as much as possible. So thank you guys for tuning in again. We really appreciate it, Matt. It was phenomenal getting a chance to fly up and kick it with you at training camp.
Yeah, thank you for doing that.
Thank you for the invite, man. I appreciate you. You know, I appreciate you inviting me.
Absolutely.
And Matt Little, we want to give a special shout out to you. Thank you again for doing everything that you do for us alumni members and keeping us in the loop. Look, my wife got me a gift today. I never seen it before, but it's kind of dope.
Is that a typewriter?
It's a typewriter. It's a little mini typewriter that says The Raven with Edgar Allan Poe poem on there. So I thought it was kind of dope. Shout out to my wife for giving me a gift. I appreciate you. Thank you, babe.
I told my wife that she had to talk to me different now because I'm a celebrity. You know what I'm saying? After Saturday, she can't talk to me like she's crazy anymore.
I know that's right. Yeah.
Yeah. She laughed at me, and I didn't think I was being a comedian in that moment, but yeah,
it was funny to me.
You know, even my coworkers, I said, you gotta keep arm's distance. You know, I'm valuable. I'm a valuable commodity now. You know, I was VIP at the castle, so you gotta talk to me with some respect. You know, Mr. Trigger. Now, you know, but I digress. Make sure you all subscribe, like, Set your notifications on YouTube. Share it with your family and friends, any group chats you're in. We will be back next week to recap the first preseason game. And that is a wrap.
Absolutely. Bird Gang out.